New systems being implemented, preparing for the final chapter. Mr. Nasu, it's been 1 year. Once more, we come back at it again. Can you tell us about the ninth year development? How has ninth year development been? メインがだいぶ7章以降、特に丸章と称してない章はすべて第2部まで終わってて、総称という最終章に向けた最後のクッションが始まった年でもあり、それを鑑みめず受け止めてもらうためにはどうするかといった考える1年でしたね。総称がおまけではなく、この章が必要なんだということを示すのに注力しつつ、いつもの FGO らしく楽しいイベントを飾り回せました。サーベントが向かっていて、やることも見えてきているユーザーに新しい遊び方を満喫させる、その準備を進めてきた期間でもありますね。So, in the ninth year, starting with the main story being Season 2, Chapter 7, aka Mictoran. Now that it has ended, Sosho became a chapter of final in order to prepare for the final chapter, a final cushion has began this year. In order to make sure that everybody is acknowledged and want to make sure that this doesn't feel like a extension date, I needed to make sure a lot of things to come into fruition. That's the entire was kind of felt like. I wanted to make sure that Sosho was not just an add-on. That you need to know this. You need to know these chapters, and for the future and the answers that is all to come, while concentrating on that point and simultaneously making sure that the FGO fun little event was able to be in the mix amongst it all. There was many servants all prepped and ready to go, and now there are things to see in the horizon, and wanted to make sure that the users had fun and new gimmicks and fun little play. That was definitely the timeline we kind of had to prepare for things as well. So the interviewer actually pokes another question saying so that we are getting additional new systems from here on out as well. It says, ゲームシステム的に一番大きなものですし、ユーザー的にも納得がいくものだと思っています。最後にこれをやるために、ここまで頑張ってきたんだなと思えるようなものを考えています。It says it's one of the bigger game system type, for sure, and it would make users understandable why we are doing the things that we are doing. In the very end, it was all for this sake we were able to push ourselves this far, is the thought process that we're hoping that you all get to once it's implemented. メインの7期以外はあんまり育てていないというユーザーさんは何だと驚くかもしれない。ただ今からでも全然間に合うので、これを機会に気のままいろいろなサーベントを教育していただければと思います。It says for those user players who are only leveling up the main 7 and nothing else, you might be wondering what the heck. But even still to this day, you'll still make it even if you try to level up the extra servant. Please use this opportunity to level up many types of different servants that you like and have fun with it, is my opinion. I would like a little bit of hint, Mr. Nasu. Why is bond and class score so important later on in our timeline? Oh, yes. On top of that, servant growth in general is also come into fruition as well. As you know, in the season 1 climax, Bond itself gave additional servants more strengthening. It's a game-like gimmick type. But in season 2, we're going to make more complex gimmick that will kind of play a similar role. But it's even bigger on the scale, is what we are planning. それが今年あたりにようやく実装できるかなというところなので、せめて9年目は本当に準備の段階でした。It says right around this year, we were able to finally, fully, almost to be able to implement that gimmick to fruition. So on top of it all, ninth year you can say that truly was the stage of preparation for the final chapter. It doesn't say final chapter, but the implementation is that final chapter. Why we were able to call upon Nokunorea. The permanent permanent departure even after leaving permanent departure after restoring after the restoration of humanity. I would like to talk about the summer event that happened right after 8th anniversary. To be perfectly honest, this servant summer festival. What was the reason for you to create this continuation verse? Nasu answers, because I wanted of servants that gathered all around and celebrated festivities. That's all. After all, every year, Comiket, right? Comiket, aka Comiket, has happened every year. So, I think now that there's more servant faces and there's more servant faces and more people gathered around, I think it was time for us to bring out Summerfest once more. And want to bring everybody along for the first time was the thought process. Uh, なので FGO が終わる年にサバフェス2をやればいいんじゃないかなとスタッフ内には言ってたんですけど、竹内くんのせいで早まりました。ははは。Wait. Hold up. Huh. Interesting. So when FGO year when the FGO ends, why don't we just bust out Servant Festival 2? That's what the talk about was going around the staff team, but due to Takeuchi's fault, it came out earlier. Haha. So the interviewer asked, then from here on out, if the servants increase more in numbers, are you saying that the third summer festival is a possibility? Dot dot dot. I don't think Servant Festival 3 will occur. Maybe. Maybe. Will not occur. Maybe, maybe. So he specifically says Servant Festival 3 will not happen. Maybe. Maybe. So who knows? It might actually happen. But maybe. Maybe, maybe. I heard the reason Nokunorea came to FGO was because Mr. Takeuchi played a certain role. Is this correct? Uh, We knew the summer servant. Yeah, we knew the summer servant was already decided. So the sheer fact that if we inserted Nokunorea, the summer servants were already decided. So if we were to put Nokunorea in there, it kind of just became an LB6 after party. First, in order to achieve Servant Festival 2, we needed to create Morgan banking notes and created new symbols and do all this funny stuff was the first intention. Then someone, aka Takeuchi, said, "This year anniversary, I want to bust out Morgan, aka Toneriko." And because of certain someone, Takeuchi, was said to be certain. It says now that Morgan is going to be intervening Summer Festival. Morgan が出る以上はもう一度サバフェスだ。I suggested that we're going to have a servant festival if the anniversary servant is going to be ASIC and Morgan's going to get involved in the summer event. However, if it's just regular Hawaii once more, we'll actually have a power down. So we created a new servant festival from scratch. So that's how it went. I see. So the very first servant festival was about creating your doujinshi, was the theme. But this time, we wanted to make it so that even ordinary people can enjoy themselves, was the theme. 一般参加者で楽しむこと。So yeah, instead of creator, you're more like a purchaser slash, just kind of like there, right? You're trying to be a guest instead of a creator or a content. Instead of a content producer, you were like the audience. You were like the viewer. After all, doing the same thing would be quite silly. On top of it all, inside of the content, we wanted to make sure that if there's an LB6 members, we're going to self-parody the entire event itself as quote unquote prophecy and 3 bosses to make the game even more exciting is the process, and I think it was pretty fun. And the result was the Circeno series. That is true. They did have a little fun summer. It was like, oh, there's a prediction, and every prediction, 3 fucking calamities hit summer. Please do explain what caused the Circeno series to be on the board. When we decided when we decided to do Servant Festival once more, we went back to Hawaii and got the in order to get more materials and information, we went back to Hawaii. When we went to cruising for Hawaii, we thought to ourselves, wouldn't it be funny if Circenos comes from the sea? Then let's do it. And it just kind of happened. If there's a sea Circenos, then there's got to be a fire Circenos. It was kind of like that, and it kind of got the idea kind of just got thrown around and got accepted right away. Simultaneously, there is a misunderstanding on the third one. The third eye of Yamerunnosu is not harmful, Circenos. It's to stop. It's to stop Circenos. It's the stopping the war and to stop these stop the fight, stop the calamity. And so when people started to fight amongst each other, the stop sign Sanos comes in. That's the third one. Understood. Going back to the topic of Nokunorea, it's my understanding that Nokunorea does not exist as a fairy in the human proper history. How was she able to be summoned? Is what I'm very curious about. Was it the power of Artoria Avalon strength at its finest? 基調は違いますが、AA は英霊の座と同じものではないので、強引に人材料を追加することもできます。具体的は違いますが、AA は英霊の座と同じようなそれでワンジナという精霊の思いを同じように理解できる代行者を用意した。他の要請でもよかったのですが、そこはシステムとしてではなく、AA 個人的なわがままでもう一度のクネアに祭りを味わってほしいということで出しました。モルガンは人理が回復するまでの戦力として特例で呼ばれた異世界の王ですが、例えばゼウスも戦力として召喚できるのでしょうか。異世界体ととってもゼウスはそもそも人類にいる存在ですから、呼ぶのであれば人類種からでしょう。異性の形態のみ成立する女王モルガンは話とは違ってきます。異文体の王は AA のように異文体の存在をこちらに早くできるのでしょうか。どのような条件？縁があればできます。溶石しないともそのようなものだし、体に伝わっている英霊であれば、この事件が起きてあるは召喚できないでしょう。ということは、人類が回復した時には逃げられない別れが待っていると。もともとサウンドはそういう存在ですからね。特にイベント性のメンツはそうなると今のうちに第7章の異世界形態の方欲しいですねという思いが召喚できるありますか？縁があるなら何かの利用で呼べる可能性あります。ただ、7章でやりきっているので、個人的には小松さんあまり知られると泡になって消えてしまうという発言です。これはあって良いのでしょうか？こっちにもある縁がいる以上、あと、周りに電話して、レイリー・アバロンを知らないかって聞いたら、彼女なら、隣の部屋で YouTube を見ているよって言うじゃないかな。なるほど、あまり深刻に考えてもいないんですね。安心しました。でも、レイリー・アバロンも FGO の世界においては政治的な存在ではないので、正体を知られると泡になって消えるというのは言い過ぎですけど、いつか人類が回復したら、そっと自分の世界に戻るのだと思います。アルトリアキャスターバーザーカー、戦記日清からウサ耳アライスになっていますが、タイプムーンの大ヒロインには大体がバニーの姿になっていますね。ウサギに可愛さを見出せない人類はいないでしょう。ウサギにはとにかく可愛いですからね。今後、アークエイドも必要バニー。アークエイドはもともとウサギ属性だからな。着せ替えるとしたら、かと飛んだ予想以外の姿で来てほしい。Alright, excuse me. Let me go back to reading. Because yeah, it got very complicated explaining Nokunorea there. Going back to topic of Nokunorea. Yeah, she's a fairy that technically doesn't exist in proper human history side. How was she able to be summoned is one of my questions. Was it the power of Artoria Avalon, aka AA, play into fruition? To an extent, you're not wrong, but AA is practically close to the heroes of the throne. So she is able to, yeah, she's able to technically pull any materials and resources necessary to make it happen. So when Wanjina came in as a spiritual being, she needed to. When Wanjina as a being came to about, AA needed to create um, a representative that could understand the same feeling as the great spirit. Yeah, the great elemental spirit Wanjina, and that's why it was prepared. It could have been any other fairies, however, it was not the system's fault. It was actually AA's own stubborn fruition wanting Nokunorea to enjoy the festivity one more time, and that's why she was thrown into the bin. So essentially, TLDR, AA has the same power as Heroes of the Throne, and it was her own selfish desire to bring Nokunorea once more into the FGO world to make her enjoy festivities once more.モルガンはMorgan came in as a specialty, right? Exclusivity as until humanity is restored. She's a Lost Belt King. She's one of the few Lost Belt King that was been summoned. For an example, can we use this logic to be able to summon Zeus into our fighting force? Even if we're talking about Lost Belt, to be perfectly honest, Zeus already existed in proper human history. So if you're going to call Zeus, you're probably call Zeus from the proper human history side and not the Lost Belt side at all. Lost Belt wise, Morgan is the queen that sets up an exception, and things would change when explaining that. Speaking of Lost Belt Kings, can they pull things off just like AA have from the Heroes of the Thrones, able to manipulate things to their own will to summon things that they want? What kind of requirements require them to able to summon things like that? The most important part is if they are connected by fate by it. Um, Fairy Knight Warriors are a practical example of that. And when it comes to カルデアが関わっている英霊であれば、この事件が起きている間は召喚できるでしょう。If Caldea is involved into this incident, if it's a Caldea servant that's involved, until the incident is over, they have a chance to summon the fated people. So it's essentially they're saying that serving kings and essentially anything Lost Belt wise can summon their own own historical characters into existence into their own Lost Belt, which is very interesting. Does that mean? Oops, excuse me. Does that mean when humanity gets restored, are there goodbyes that cannot be avoided? It says after all, servants are usually like that in the very first place. Especially the Lost belt side of people will not return once proper human history gets restored. Oh, I see. Then if that's the case, I would like LB7's Lost Belt King. I would like Kamasoso to come by and visit. That is kind of the feelings that I have. Is there a possibility for him to show up anytime soon? It says yes, it's a possibility. It's a possibility because we are connected by fate, and with some additional reasonings, it's possible. However, I would like to leave. Personally, I would like to leave Kamasoso alone and let him rest after LB7. Okay, okay. 7章でやりきっているので、個人的にはカマソスはあのままで休ませてあげたいです。So, yeah, essentially, Nasu don't want Kamasoso coming out anytime soon, boys. Get wrecked is scrubbed. But one day, one day. I've got one more question. That's about Lady Avalon. The term when she specifically says, if you know the true me, I'll disappear like bubbles. Can we take that literally, or is she playing around? うちのマーリンがいる以上、居場所がないからじゃないですかね。It says, due to the fact that we already have Merlin, perhaps maybe she doesn't have much existence to go by, and she's trying to exaggerate it. At the same time, because she, aka he, is technically there, so it's kind of embarrassing to see himself once more. He's probably, if she has disappeared, and if you were to call Merlin on the phone and ask where's Lady Avalon, he'll probably answer, she's probably in the next room watching YouTube. You can take that as so. Oh, I see. So we don't have to think about it so deeply. I'm quite relieved. But understand, Lady Avalon is definitely one of those characters that doesn't exist properly in the FGO world. So even if her real self were to be known, it's a bit too much for her to say she might disappear like a bubble. But when humanity gets restored once more, she'll just return to her own world. That's all. Talking about Artoria Caster Berserker, her second ascension is a bunny girl Alice Wonderland style, but it seems that every type moon, four biggest heroines, have a lot of bunny style imagery, don't they? It says, I don't think there's any human being that don't look at a bunny and don't think it's cute, right? I hope. Lol. After all, bunnies are very cutie and cutesy. Then the interviewer asked, will we able to see Arcuin in FGO as a bunny outfit anytime soon? Nasu answered, Arcuid is already a bunny type character, so if she were to change clothes, it probably be quite drastic, and I would like her to be I would like for her to dress unexpectedly, for sure. Now we're talking about you, Olga Murray. You, Olga Murray, could have been friends. You, Olga Murray elementals. Now, right after summer, Olga Murray Quest has came about. Can you explain a little bit more of that? We wanted an event that gives out servants that you've been raising for these past few years, maybe around 30 of your best, and wanted to do a quick battle, was the concept. It was not like it was life or death battle circumstances, but if we don't create contents like these types of things, there were no meaning to constantly push servant leveling up and growing them. Uh, Olga Murray, yeah, Olga Murray after LB7, she doesn't have much role. Yeah, she doesn't have much role once she finishes a role in Olga Murray will not show up as much after LB7, so it's just kind of a reminder to not forget about her. But at the same time, have game system gimmick being semi pushed in order to get the concept of our goal move forward. So essentially, yeah, TLDR, she's just gonna pop up every so often. At the same time, it's just a best game system to be like, there's a reason why people are pushing you to level up those servants. It says, 堤防で触れられていた10年目に出てくる新しいシステムの交渉なんでしょうか It says, is it the topic that we talked about at the very front, the 10th year anniversary preparation new system, perhaps? And then Nasu says it in bold. Correct. 多分オルガメリーを全て倒したらやっと最後のシステムが解放されてるくらいの覚悟を持ってください。It says, think about it, is once you defeated all the Olgamuries, the last system will be unleashed. Think about it as that and prepare yourself and please be patient. So, whatever the new system that they're going to implement later, in the main story wise, is going to be implemented after we defeat all the Murray. Please explain about the design of Olga Murray. Can you give us an example of why Flair Murray's right horn is shattered? By the way, that was not my decision. That was Mr. Takeuchi when designing. He wanted to make yeah, it wanted to make Takeuchi wanted to design one with a distinction of horns in order to create a semi-segregation, semi-separation to get yeah, semi-separation to get different designs going. 一体くらいは角を差別化しようと話が出た。So while discussing about horn types and features and unique, Takeuchi wanted to design a little bit different than the others. We decided this when we simply divided her to four. That's about it. So essentially, the reason why Flair Murray's right side horn was shattered was because it was just a quick decision making, and Takeuchi wanted all the horns to be different, but one of them be semi-shattered, semi like different than completed horns altogether. You wanted to create an incompleted horn to create differentiation. I believe Flair Murray came in with a immense intensity without saying a word. What was she thinking during these times? To be honest, she was definitely a knight. Yeah, she had the quote unquote knights. Yeah, the knight trained up as a knight mentality type. So whenever it comes to fighting, um, because you were her enemy, she was fighting nonchalantly, and there was no ill intent or any harbinger of hatred or evil towards the person she was fighting. There was a possibility that if we were to conversate correctly, she could have been our friend. Ah, 仲間になっていたかもしれないフレア・マリーが1体目の相手とは運命のいたずらですね。It says the sheer fact that the Flair Murray could have been our friend and had to be our very first opponent. What a fickle fate is. It's essentially tease of destiny, right? What a tease of destiny. 立場を違いを分かった上で協力してくれるタイプでしたからね。他の奴らは相手の話を理解しても自分の立場の方が大事だから絶対に仲間にはなりません。そこは他の3人と大きく違いますので。It says, by the way, by understanding each other's circumstances and situation, Flair Murray was definitely the type that still would have collaborated after all. Others would still try to conversate and understand their positions and their perspective. However, they would prompt themselves that their position and their role is much more important, so they will never be they'll never be our friends. So comparing to the other three, she was a bit different. First つ目のオルガマリークエストはグラウディウスをやりたいと言ったのが発見したんですよ。横スクロールで進みながらどんどんパワーアップしていて、パワーアップのやり方次第で戦闘が楽になるし、使いたくないものは取らなくてもいい。それに FGO システムで表現したらあのようになりました。グラウディアス The hell's a Glaudius? The Isn't Gladius a fucking shooter video game? Like Bullet Hell? Yeah. So okay. So they had the Gladius as a motif. Yeah, it's Gladius is a spaceship shooter game. The scroll. Okay. Aquamarine Aquamarine was giving away president badges. What sort of things was that implemented, and what was your thought process for that? The second Olga Marie quest, we wanted to have a Gladius. We wanted to make a Gladius-like type event. Like the side scroller, by continuing forward, you can get a power up. And depending on how you power up, the battle gets easier. And what you don't want to take as a power up, you don't have to. Using that circumstances, we implemented that idea to the FGO system and tried to show it as best as possible. I heard that the presidential badge design looked very similar to Olga Murray's command seal. Is that on purpose? Yes, the badge design was definitely on purpose to get the command seal design of Murray for the president. It's not something that Aquamarine purposefully put her thought process or effort into. It was just a simple sending salt to an enemy. Yeah, it was just a simple tactic of giving salt. Yes, giving salt to an enemy item like. It's like putting your own portrait as your own currency and gifting it out. That's about it. Lol. Can you tell us where and what were the どこにいて何をしているの? Can you tell us the rest of the elements, what they are doing currently? To be perfectly honest, there's one moron that's actually doing some moronic things, but other than that, nothing so special. 基本にオルガマリークエストは4体に分かれたエレメンタルオルガマリーが敵。To be perfectly honest, Olgamari quest is going to be quite simple. You're going to have to fight four different Olgamaris of the elements. I think that's the easiest. Yeah, I think that's the simplest way to understand the circumstances. A scenario might be short, but in the very end, she does say something very vital to the story and crucial to the plot line. So, after you finish all of them and reach the final chapter, you will start to have more understanding of why things are happening of sort. We made it. Yeah, we made sure that to an extent you don't have to do them, and you'll still get to a point. So apparently, one of them is doing something stupid. 若干一名バカなことをやっているやつがいるのですが, I'm assuming that's the presidential enjoying life, happy. Kido Airaku, so enjoyment. So I believe the elemental of enjoyment is doing something stupid. Because Nasu's saying one element is actually doing something stupid, but other than that, nothing too special. Just think of Olgamari quest as just four elemental Olgamari needs to be defeated. As simple as that. However, scenario is short, but in the end, they will drop a lore bomb. And if you were to do them all, you'll understand why final chapter is the way it is. We made it so that technically you don't have to do them, and you'll still understand it to an extent. 残り2体も準備は進んでいると. It says, the interviewer asks, 2 more elements are being prepared as we speak. And then Nasu says, correct. 1 is currently enjoying their presidential life to the fullest, and 1 is sincerely hating humanity for all its might. Please be excited for the future content. Yeah, bent over heels. A lot of shenanigans happening in Mahoyo collab. Alice and the words of determination. Mahoyo from here on out. Mahotsukai no Yoru from here on out. Mahoyo. We would like to hear about the Mahoyo collab, Mr. Nasu. How did this collab come about in fruition? Nasu answers, to be perfectly honest, the collaboration was already in play way before than a lot of the things. Because of circumstances, a lot of the timings did not work out. We weren't able to schedule it. And yeah, we weren't able to schedule it to put a proper timing to it until May of 2024, when all the schedule puzzles started to fit into pieces, and we decided the due date to be on May 2024. First, we wanted an easy event. The first thought process was to give it an easy event to have fun. But as the time as the time go, we decided that we needed to write a proper story to it. 夏イベントで疲れ切ったところではあったんですけど、できりゃーって。It says we were very exhausted in finishing the summer event, but yeah, we were very exhausted finishing the summer event, but we said, fuck it, we ball. Essentially, it's not exactly that translation, but yeah, Nasu and the team said, fuck it, let's do this. Parentheses, lol. We wrote this scenario during the same time, roughly around Nemo's Christmas event was being written. So, ネモのクリスマスイベントも同じ期に書いていたのでカツカツではありましたがなんとかしました。It was a little rough, but we managed to pull through. So first, the interviewer asked, I would like to know what kind of scenario was provided for us at the 1.0. At first, we wanted to talk about witch hunting, like a serious, yeah, the serious, no joke witch hunting was our first idea. Somewhere around the 20th, middle of 20th century. We wanted to do like a Germany trip, and no Noishuru Banstein. Noishuban. Neuschwanstein. The castle, yeah, they wanted to talk about the castle of Neuschwanstein and any more old castles memories. And using that atmosphere, we wanted to create a Silent Hill motif was our first idea. While that was happening, around October 2023, me and Takeuchi was talking about the schedule, and we went to a hot springs for a couple of days to discuss and bing chill. Essentially, they spent a couple of nights in the hot spring and just kind of chillaxed. The Showa, aka Japanese era, right? Japanese era of back in the day, smell of the hot springs. While we were enjoying ourselves, we um, we suddenly exclamated, "Oh, I see! The housewife, no, Komadori, right? AKA the bluebird, see it!" And then we started the everyday Alco murder mystery sequences occurred. That's wild. So essentially, Nasu and Takeuchi was just like, all right, man, we got to come up with a plan. We're going to meet at the hot springs to chillax and relax and come up with a plan. And then they were just like, oh, shit, dude. I think Alco dying every day in a hot spring event would be pretty lit. Because they're, what do you mean? They were thinking, dude, the 1.0, a Silent Hill like Germany trip of Neusteinben Castle, that would have been so lit. But they decided to do mystery murder of a housewife saw this mystery murder shenanigans. But instead of changing the housemaid, instead of housemaid, it was the bluebird, aka Komatori. 昭和の雰囲気が感じられる温泉に身を置いてからこそ生まれたときめきだったのですね。It says, being surrounded by the Showa era, which is about like until the 80s and 90s, yeah, 80s and 90s. Because of the hot springs, letting your body relax, this idea came into fruition, I see. Because it was at that time of Mahoyo and its stories and it fits the timeline, I believe the stage was kind of perfect for the era as well. It says, unfortunately for FGO fans, this event definitely was all about Mihoyo, and it was for Mihoyo fans. But uh, we decided that was okay. それでもいいかと Komaya, which by the way, Komaya is Komaya Hirokazu, who is the character designer of Mihoyo. We were perfectly okay with that circumstances, and so we asked the Komaya and Yakeuchi. Is it not Takeuchi? That's funny. There's a typo here. That's cute. I might have actually found a rare typo from Famitsu. That's actually a fun typo there. Instead of Takeuchi, it's Yakeuchi. It's supposed to be Takeuchi, but it's kind of a funny little typo that they oopsie. Um, yeah, well, Takeuchi and Kotoyama confirmed all this. We got a couple plot lines and couple plots shown just in case to make it happen. We decided with, yeah, Komadori saw, Komadori wa mita が一番いいんじゃないかと思うことが来ました。Yeah, so they did some couple like A test, B test, and they decided that instead of having this whole fucking title of um, housemaid, no, the Bluebird saw it, right? And so after testing some titles and plot lines, Bluebird seen it, made sense. It says, by the way, can you give us explanation of why Sonnoji's Noble Phantasm animation situation? What was that all about? それを知っているのは自分と小山あとは宝具演出を作るときに説明を受けた螺旋グルのスタッフだけです。Yeah, can you talk more about the situation with Sonnoji and his noble phantasm? Oh, by the way, people who know that is me, Koyama, and the people who got instructed to do the noble phantasm animation, La Single staff. Fucking not. 雪の日に雪の日に廃棄でという状況を見ると青子の決戦の日を思い出しますね。ぜひそれを教えていただければ。It says on an abandoned location on a snowy day. That situation, from seeing it, it feels like it's it's the final battle of Alco. Yeah, the Alco's detrimental fight days is what I have hypothesized. Please, if there's any details, please provide it to us. It says I can't say it. By the way, speaking of Sonnoji, Sojiro's Noble Phantasm technically is a take two. And in the first take, you would understand what was going on, what was happening, and it was such a more understanding Noble Phantasm. But if we were to give that Noble Phantasm to the audience, it was way too straightforward. Simultaneously, we didn't want to tease craziness right off the bat, so we needed to cut those motions in. After all, if it was all in one, if it all was in take one, you would understand everything and anything that has happened, so it would have been quite problematic. With a parenthesis, lol. Komadori is Robin? Yeah, the Bluebird. It's easier to say Bluebird to newer people than say Robin, because Robin is technically not the blue bird in FGO. あとは、宗次郎、あとは宗次郎の大脳筋性カックの設定について当然答えが出されましたね。魔法をやるからにはファンの方にも新しい情報とかいうそうだったのかと思えるものを出した方がいいと決断しました。ネタバレにはなるのですが何も指定していないので当たり故障なのはシナリオより刺激のあるものが最大のファンサービスになるだろうと。So essentially, the interviewer the interviewer specifically talks about the brain functionality of Soji, aka the welfare servant. Yeah, the welfare servant's functionality in his how he do things. It seems that the answer is kind of blatant there, and I'm glad it was answered. Nasu answers it by, if we were doing Mahoyo, we definitely wanted something of a new information, like I suppose for the fans, or at least a confirmation of sort. That was the decision we have come to conclusion with. Of course, it is a spoilers to some circumstances, but we're not going to point out where and who and how. Um, 当たりの障害のないシナリオ yeah, instead of a banger hit scenario, we wanted to make sure uh, yeah, instead of a banger hit scenario, we wanted to make sure that the audience, the fans, would have a stimulating enjoyment of new informations and confirmations of event. Probably thought was the best course of action for the best fan service that we could ever provide. It says, I saw the grown up Sonnoji, right? I saw the grown up Sonnoji's right hand. He was wearing a glove. He was wearing a glove, I believe. That has some implementation, does it not? Can you explain it? And Nasu goes, yes, she was wearing a black glove. Okay, that's all. Lol. Onoji wearing a black glove, Chan. Do you know what that means? Nasu's holding back? Well, he doesn't need to talk too much about it, you see. Just understand that somebody was wearing a black glove. That's all you need to know. Smiley face. Oh, it's also a spoilers too, and it's one of those things that you rather just read Mahoyo, and if you read the collab event after you read Mahoyo, it's kind of a OIC kind of ordeal. コラボのでででででで it says yeah. I saw Alice touching the right hand of yeah, I saw Alice touching the right hand of Sonoji and specifically apologized of that circumstances as well. コラボのアリスは一人だけ魔法用の10年後の世界にいる人間なので、アリスが知っているのはあの時代の宗次郎と10年前の宗次郎は違う部分がある。これ以上はちょっと。It says in the collaboration, Alice was the only one that was left. Yeah, that was the only one who lived in the world of Mahoyo 10 years after the Mahoyo circumstances. She is a human that lives in that world 10 years ago. So Alice knows Sonji during that time. And Sonnoji's 10 year ago have some different circumstances. I'm sorry, can't go any further. It says, I understand. Then let me ask, how did Alice feel? Yeah, can I have the emotion expression of Alice? That is all. Uh, Nasu answers, I'm glad that he's safe and sound. 元気でいてくれてありがとう。という言葉に全てが詰まっています。ごめんなさい。という気持ちと10年前の出来事、今ここにいる全てに関して感謝しているという。あの時はありがとうも言えなかったからね。So it says, Alice says, I'm glad that you're doing fine. Oh yeah, I'm glad that you're, the fuck? 元気でいてありがとうという言葉に全てが詰まっています。All it comes down to the word of her saying, thank you for being healthy, right? Thank you for being well. The fact that she says, I'm sorry, and the 10 years, what happened 10 years before, she is quite grateful of the circumstances that happens in front of her. After all, she wasn't even able to say, she wasn't even able to say thank you during that circumstances. And if you guys don't know what's that mean, read Mahoyo. After you read Mahoyo, if you reread the event, you'll understand what Nasu's talking about. The implementations and circumstances are all there. Talking about Alice's third ascension, specifically on the Takebo Nikki in the Nasu's journal. それはいつか次の夜でねと書きましたが、第2のコラボなどの。It says, you specifically says that's for now. We'll see you in the next night. You've written us with that beforehand in your Nasu journal. Can we assume that there's going to be a second collab in the future? Nasu specifically says, hey, second collab ain't coming. No matter what the shape and form it is, I now have to write a continuation, don't I? That's just a post that I wanted to, type in clearly. So essentially, Nasu might actually write after the Witch of the Holy Night. So Witch of the Holy Night Part 2 might come one day. The interviewer asked, I feel like the collaboration key features are slowly but surely diminishing in my honest opinion. Thinking of the past collabs, do you not think of any of the collaboration can have a part 2 in an effect? Nasu says, you bet there's not a lot of new collabs in the future, right? But there's more. I might throw up. Lol. Wait, もう新しいコラボがな、wait. もう新しいコラボ先がないと思うでしょう。まだあるんですよ。吐きそう。lol。第2部をやりたいなと思うものもあるんですけど、そこは通常イベントでと考えています。Oh, interesting. So essentially, they're saying that, the interviewer is saying that there's not going to be a lot of collab products that you're going to be collabing. Do you think about doing a part 2 of a collab? And then Nasu goes, listen, you think that there's no collab that we can't collab to, but there's a lot. He specifically says, I might throw up. Lol. Oh, no, it's not I might throw up. It's he's coughing out loud. Sexo. Is it sexo or hakiso? I'm pretty sure it's hakiso, which is throw up. Give me a second. Yeah, Haku. Haku means he might throw up. Yeah, he might throw up. Lol. For some odd reason, the man wants to throw up when it comes to Giga Mega collabs. It says there are a couple of collaborations that I want to do a part 2 on. However, I'll put that as a regular event. So they're not going to do like a part 2 collab. It's just going to be a regular event that's going to be a continuation of the collab as a possibility. そこは通常イベントでと考えて。ラスボスにとして登場したオンリーワンナンバーワンシャイニースターの戦いの冒険等の演出がすごかったですね。I gotta say, the last boss that came in, the only one, number one, Shiny Stars battle animation motions was quite intense. And then Nasu specifically adds, yes, the monochrome became color. The old it has turned into new. Attack can go through, and we were able to bust out the most comfortable and most amazing music fitted in the BGM. We wanted to make that we wanted to make that situation come into fruition so badly. We wanted to make sure that the Shiny Stars battle, we used a lot of efforts on different animations, motions, and graphs and pictures and CGs. We definitely pushed that for sure. ここまで魔人王や魔人王や役神 ORT みたいな、ボス自体のデザインに力を入れてきましたが、それだけだとマンネリになる概念系なので、シンプルなデザインがいいのだと思いました。It says, compared to from here on out, like Demon God King, right, Gotea, and like Sorcenos and ORT, when it comes to boss design, we were definitely putting the boss design at first and put a lot of strengthening into it. But if we were to do that, it'll become maneri, right? Melancholy, simplistic in pattern, and it would become a bore. So we wanted to have a simple design at best to show you a boss. It says, and then the interviewer goes, that is certainly true. It was unexpected our final boss was. And then Nasu simply says, that's right. Something as simple as that can eradicate the world. We wanted to make it super simple, but we wanted to make the stage, the ambiance, everything else maxed up to an 11. We wanted to make sure that the shiny star itself might be tiny, but things circling around it is an abundant amount of stars circling left and right. There's stars that you can see, there's stars that you can like feel. That's kind of those things that we wanted to make a stage that made your heart flutter, kind of scene in excitement of sort. I believe Mr. Losengo and Mr. Takeuchi had a hard time trying to perfect that and work out. It was very difficult for me to try to make the image come out just by wording. So when the first stage came out, I specifically rejected it. It's not linear. Yeah, I told them it's not linear. It's not that simple. And 自分の中のイメージをなんとか書いて伝えて、竹内がこういうことって出してきたのがまさにそれで、そういうこと。So I try to draw it with my own. I try to draw it to my best of my own abilities. What kind of things that I wanted to write, and when Takeuchi redrew the draft, we used it because it was the exactly the thing that I was trying to get. Very cool. Last but not least, Mahoyo's collabs finale. I believe the family of Ryogu Shiki came out. It was quite the surprise. The sheer fact that the child saying bye bye. The sheer fact of the child saying bye bye and the parting words were quite meaningful and had sort ofセリフが意味深いでしたが、何かつかみがあるのでしょうか。旅館に起きていたことを全部分かっていると。今後のカルデアも今後のカルデアのことも分かっているので頑張ってねというメッセージですね。Oh, that's very cute. I gotta fucking make sure I don't mess her up. Shiki, not Shiki. Let's put yeah, fuck it, dude. Just do Ryogu Shiki. Yeah, that one. Let's do that Shiki, which is 10 years later, and then have the child. Where is the child? Mana Ryogu Shiki. Okay, so essentially, Nasu, the interviewer is talking about the sheer fact that Mana has specifically said in Yogushiki that she says bye bye. And then as a goodbye word was quite more meaningful. Was there actual deeper meaning to all this? And then Nasu specifically answers, by the way, Mana Ryogi, Mana Ryogi knew exactly every single thing that was happening in the event. So the sheer fact that knows what's going to happen to Karudea, so it was in her own way, do her best, was the message that she was contriving all along. If you don't know, that is the daughter of Shiki, and I believe she is the one who named Mana was Mikia. She's in Lord Emeloid. She's in illustrations, all that good stuff. She shows up a couple of times, and then she shows up in the FGO whatnot. Very cute, very cute. But yeah, essentially, there was a last part where the child says bye bye, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, there's a fucking," because people fucking got hyped because this was, I think, the second time Mana got drawn. Second time Mana got drawn after like a couple of years, so it was lit. Alright, so from here, Edo 2 spoilers. So be warned. This is 100% Edo 2 spoilers. If you mind, after you're at the end, you probably just didn't read what I translated. That's okay. Alright, Sosho 2. Looking back at Edo. The retired Avengers and how they're treated. Edo 2 stage was a Tokyo that was made up in protagonist's memory. Wait. So interviewer asked, the stage that was set in Edo was the background of the location created in the protagonist's image, which was in the Tokyo that was faked. Mr. Nasu states that is correct. That is the memory from protagonist. But そのものではなく記憶をもとにしたものだと思う。そのものの it's not just his memory. I believe it is based on his memory specifically. そうなると登場人物たちにも気になりますね。So if that's the case, then the characters that joined in definitely comes to fruition and question. 主人公の記憶にあるものをそのままサーベントや敵の人物に当てはまるのでしょう。カルデアに来る前の関係性にカルデア カルデア以降の人間関係を当てはめているからだと。普段なら主人公はあのような状態にはならないと思いますが、モデルとなった人物がいたのなら、復讐に恩にかけられたものも納得ですね。事件の元ボスや元源やボスを憎むのは FGO の主人公の精神性からかけ離れていて正直ありえないことですよ。しかし今回だけはそうしないといけませんでしたね。身近な人が殺されて復讐心を抱えない者はいないんだ。その復讐心の心とどう向き合うかというのが総称2のテーマでしたね。テーマの設定をした後は担当のイラストさんに味付けをしてもらったのですが、学園物語をやると言われた時には本当にびっくりしました。でもシナリオを読むとなるほど、確かにそれなら納得感がありました。普段なら主人公、so it's essentially, so if that's the case, the characters that's shown is quite intriguing. It says probably the servants, サーバントや敵に当てはまっているのでしょう。Yeah, it's projected as the protagonist's memories as follows, and it is fitting the role of both servant and the enemies as best as possible. カルデア以降の人物を関係当てはまっているのかと。カルデアに来る前に関係性にカルデア以降の人物関係を当てはめている。So it's essentially it's the same concept as just kind of filling the role of the servants, fitting to each personality as best as they could, right? That's what Nasu is saying right there. That the relationship before he went to Karadea, he's probably adding them as Karadea personnels to kind of fit the blank. To be perfectly honest, in a normal protagonist setting, I genuinely think that circumstances, that situation doesn't happen. But if the model of a person is himself, and if the model of the person is that said being, then I can see that him trying to become a Avenger to be seen is understandable. This is gonna be a spoiler, but TLDR, yeah. There's a certain moment in Protagonist where he kind of low key almost became an Avenger because of some next level shit happened. So that's what a protagonist is asking. Usually, we don't see protagonists in that state of beings, but is it perhaps the model of the person who set this all up try to make this right happen? It says in FGO, the mentality of protagonists specifically hating the boss or the mastermind does not exist. And honestly, it shouldn't happen. However, this time was a bit different. This time, it had to happen, and it needed to happen. After all, a human being that got their closest people murdered left and right, there's no way a normal human being would not incentivize or have a revengeful hatred in their heart. How you can see those, how you can feel those, and how you can see through these revengeful notions was definitely the theme of Ordeal Call 2. After I've given the theme setup, the illustrator that was in charge of the writing, I wanted him to add additional flavor to this text. But when when they told me that they were going to turn it into a school life scenario, I was quite surprised. But when I read the story that they've created, I certainly understood their angle, and I got what they wanted to say. In Ordeal Call 2, interviewer specifically says, Avenger had to retire. How did you select those Avengers that needed to retire? Tojo していないのは人によっては出会っていないアベンジャーです。メインストーリーはみんなやっちゃっているけど、イベントは人によってまちまちじゃないですか。そこで登場したアベンジャーたちが残っています。ただし、アンリマイエに関しては、カルデアの旅で馴染んだアベンジャーと違って最初からいるもんなので、例外的な立ち位置になっています。In Ordeal Call 2, Social 2, there were Avengers that had to retire. How did you select those characters? The Avengers that I've selected are all officially journeyed through Karudea. The Avengers, Karudea's journey officially, and they are registered. And those that 退場していないのは those that didn't retire are Avengers that did not meet them. 退場していないのは人によっては出会っていない Avenger です。So it's essentially all the Avengers that you met along the way throughout the journey slash event would have left, but those who have not seen is not retired just yet. It says, I'm pretty sure main story, everybody does it, but when it comes to event, people do it here and there. So, Avengers that shows up in the event still still stays. So essentially, event Avengers kind of stays along a bit, but the main character Avengers kind of gets left behind. However, Angkor Manu is comparing to the Avengers that was born throughout the Karadea's journey. He was there from the very beginning, so his existence is outside of this construct. Because Angkor Manu is a very important character later on. After all. So it's just saying that essentially all FGO journeyed Avengers go bye-bye. Angkor Manu is not, because Angkor Manu was with us the whole time. Because Angkor Manu existed from the first place. Please explain about Link Lost and Link Bad. これからの状態を何を示しているのか教えてください。What is the difference between Link Lost and Link Bad? Can you tell us the situation of what these mean? We started to think about what data. We started at first to put at data lost was our first conjecture, but the writer that was in charge specifically stated that if they were put into data lost, then that means they truly have disappeared. So the connection would be cut, and because the connection will be cut, we won't be able to call them. We want to make it so that the connection was bad. We wanted to make sure that the circulation was awful, so we can't call on them. We wanted to make some sort of a it's essentially we needed a roundabout and not delete them off the face of the planet completely. And that is the reason why we have the bad Link and Link Lost. They're technically not going to show up any longer, but they didn't really disappear. It's just think of it as our current connection is not good enough for us to contact them. So in that way, it's called Link Lost and Link Bad. So TLDR, link lost and link bad is a better circumstances of data lost, and canonifying, if you get data lost, you are gone. So yeah, they're probably saying that canonically they need to make a hyperplot convenience to get the Avengers back. So the way they put Link Bad and Link Lost is just a nice way to say, hey, currently, you can't connect to the Avengers. 安心しました。総称1以降、メインストーリーでは新しいオルターエゴが中根あるあメインストーリー内では新しいオルターエゴが仲間になっていません。同時的に総称2以降で自警隊で新種のアベンジャーは仲間にならないのでしょうか。メインストーリーの上ではもう出てこないと思います。ただイベントはまた別物なのでそちらで出番はあるかもしれないですね。総称1以降、メインストーリーの上では新規のアルターエゴが仲間になっていません。When was Ordeal Call 1 chat? When was Ordeal Call? Ordeal Call 1. Ansa, Bazaka, Archer. Assassin, Pretender. オルターエゴが来てねえな。That's a very interesting notion. Yeah, alter ego has not arrived in the main story just yet. And I believe this will be the last time we get Avenger in the main story. It says, I'm really happy after all. Ever since Sosho 1 in the main storyline, there's not a new alter ego friends that has ever arrived. At the same time, now, Sosho 2 and onward during the canonical timeline, will there be no more new Avengers be of our friends? It says in the main story sequence wise, after Sosho 2, you probably won't see them anymore, I think. But when it comes to events are completely different than main stories, so those will probably have some time to shine as well. So meaning that we might have we might have Avengers and events, but when it comes to main story, you're probably not going to see a lot of alter egos and Avengers at the moment. It says ordeal call theme seems like ordeal call theme. First time I've heard it. It's kind of saying goodbye to these kinds of said emotions and whatnot from the show themes. During the alter ego chapter, there was no goodbyes. Can you explain a little bit of that? It says humans, their flavor of liking and disliking always wavers left and right. Think of it as yesterday you might have liked product A, but today you hate product A. Something like that occurs all the time. Don't you feel that every so often? Alter ego, in the very end, it's your different personality. So, and because it's a different personality, but it's still you, there's no reason for you to cut it down and shed it away. You just need to understand it. After all, it's part of you. However, the vengeful spirit and the heart of an avenger definitely need to is one of those feeling conjunctures that need to be cut down and left behind. So what you're telling me, Mr. Nasu, is that everything doesn't have to have a goodbye, correct? So he's specifically stating that it's not always goodbye in these circumstances, correct? And Nasu specifically says that's correct. To be perfectly honest with you, to be perfectly honest with you, when I saw the last part of the Avengers turning out exactly like that, it was definitely out of my imagination. I believe we might have busted it out way too early. ちょっと早すぎたかもしれませんね。あの展開をするのは、to be ending it, yeah, ending it on that note, to be honest. Show, just like 1.5, I wanted the writers to have their own flavor and their own text and then their own colors and conjectures to be shown in the story. And it's a bit exaggerated, but I wanted to make sure that it was a product that they can represent themselves that was kind of backed up by our writing. In order to prepare for that, we were willing to prepare for a budget and expectation of timelines and whatnot, is what we've told them. 立ち絵も本来のイベントであれば、こそ、あれこそまでの数は用意できません。It says, yeah, because we had the budget and the expectations of a timeline prepared, the amount of arts, CG, and circumstances, if it was a regular event, we weren't able to provide that much at all. 一人のイラスターさんならそうでもないのですが、全員別の方角が書いてるから、全員別の方が書いているから、単イラストレーターたちに連絡してスケジュールを合わせてと準備することがたくさんありました。でもそういった準備があったおかげで1.5以上に各ライターさんの色が出ているかなと思います。So yeah, it's essentially everybody has a different notions, different directions, and writing styles, and that's why we're constantly calling the illustrators and contacting them and getting their schedules together and preparing for all these to come together. We had a lot of those, but because of we had preparation and ready to go ever since from 1.5, we had all a lot of the writers were able to have their own color, their own personality, their own niche added to their own story. So essentially, Nasu is saying here he was not expecting the end of the Avengers the way it was, but at the same time, he's treating Sosho like 1.5, where he wanted to make sure that the writers have their own personality thrown out there and making it so that it's their representative, right? Like the writing represents them, and they have their own flesh and flair to it, and they were willing to put budgets and expectation times to make it happen. And Mr. Interviewer asked, so what I'm hearing is more things to come like these in Sosho, correct? And Inasu says yes. It's specifically in Sosho 3. In many different ways, in many different meanings, you'll probably be taken for a surprise. It says, それをやっていいんだって. that we can, yeah, that we're allowed to do something like that. It says, please understand that comparing 1 and 2, we're not going to pull the same thing. Yeah, we're not going to pull the same thing as 1 or 2, so please be expected, and I hope you are anticipated for the third one to come soon. Servant Universe swimsuit events and 10th anniversary thought process. Congratulations on your anniversary space Reshkagul. Yeah, congratulations on your anniversary space Reshkagul, but at the same time, it was quite shocking that she came in as a beast. It says in the last interview, I specifically told you proper human history beast will not show up, is what I've said. But Space Ereshkigal is a servant universe beast, so it's no problem at all. Uh, the interviewer answers, "Oh, I see," parentheses, lol. So you're going to use this opportunity. Will you continue to further increase the lore of the servant universe, perhaps? It says when it comes to when it comes to universe, anything goes. So when in doubt, you can just throw it at it to have fun. Parentheses lol. Honestly though, I would like to do Saber Wars 3 in the future, but that's just conflicting with my current schedule. At this very moment, I might be able to pull it off, maybe not. That's probably the level I'm currently in. So Nasu has specifically stated he wants to do Saber Wars 3, but he does not have enough time in his current schedule. At this moment, he probably can pull it off or not, is the level of certainty he's in. Can you give us a theme of this year's swimsuit event? Yes, this year's swimsuit event theme is rich. Kanko? What the fuck is Kanko? Kanko cruise? Rich cruise? It's not the cruising cruise like you're on a ship cruise. It's what do you do? You fucking visit, right? You visit, you kanko, you fucking yeah, it's visit, right? Like it's a rich visit. It's like visit kanko visiting. It's like cruise. Cruise. Mm, imagine space cruise. It's not the cruise that you're thinking, right? Like it's more leisure than that. It's like going to another country to sightsee. I think that's the word. I think that's sightsee. Kanko spot. Yeah. What do you fucking make kanko spot? Tourist attraction. That's the word. Didn't I totally forgot the word tourist. So it's a tourist, a rich tourist attraction kind of type of the event. Sorry, took a little wordplay that needed to come out. Totally forgot the elementary word tourism. Rich tourism. That's what it is. The swimsuit this year's event theme is called Rich Tourism. Not only just Space Ereshkigal, there's going to be 2 new universe character. Wait, hey, Toko swimsuit Kopu? Hold up.今夜は、今年の水着イベントはリッチな観光をテーマにしています。スペーシーレシカルだけではなく、ユニバース的キャラが他にも2体登場します。なんていうか、最終的には魔法用コラボみたいなキノコワイワイワールドになってしまったというか、ナシキノコさんが今回の夏は重視みたいなもんなんですね。Okay. So essentially, yeah, what's the theme of this year's swimsuit? This year's theme, swimsuit theme is rich tourism. Is the theme. Not only Space Ereshkigal will be coming, there's going to be 2 additional universe character coming into play. How would I say this? In the very end, we're gonna have like a Mahoyo collaboration like event, like a mushroom paradise world. 最終的には魔法用コラボみたいなキノコワイワイワールドになってしまったところっていうか。So, essentially, in the Servant universe, there's going to be 2 more Servant universe characters that's going to be playing like Tsukihime. So, knowing CL is coming, I genuinely think you're going to get a semi Tsukihime event. And if he's saying in the end, you're going to have a Mahoyo like collab, meaning that we're going to get a set parameter of characters and fuck ton of those characters from that series. Assuming Space Ereshkigal and we have Space CL, right? I believe. See, does he talk about fucking CL? Oh, does that mean one of the space character is CL? Ooh, you fucking dirty interview boy. He's letting Nasu allow him to say that. Oh, you bitch. He's specifically saying, besides Space Ereshkigal, there's 2 more universe type characters. Meaning that there's 2 more Servant Universe characters. One of them technically is CL. One of them. At this point, the interviewer does not talk about CL. We can assume that this first one is CL. The second one will most likely be Tsukihime. Tsukihime elaborated servant. So I'll be wondering who it could be. And then he specifically says at the end, it's gonna be like Mahoyo collab, Kinoko YY World. Meaning that if you don't know, at the end of Mahoyo collab, you had fucking Alice, Sonoji, Aoko. You had like the triple fucking, like the finale of Mahoyo's taking care of the battle shenanigans, getting it done. It was pretty poggers my nodders. It had so many references to Mahoyo. It had Mahoyo side characters that fucking should not have shown, but it did and was like the main reason it caused the problem and shit. So assuming this is going to be Tsukihime, because one of the universe servant is now confirmed to be CL, because Mysterious Enforcer C.E.E.L is practically universe speech. Um, we're gonna get one more Tsukihime type servant, which will most likely be a female. So who the fuck is gonna be? I don't know. Who knows? Is this gonna be a Tsukihime collab and coded in summer event? That is correct. You're not gonna get a Tsukihime collab. You're just gonna get a Tsukihime Servant Universe Summer. So technically, it's not a collab. It's an event. It's in a nice midterm of, hey, Tsukihime is involved in an event, and Tsukihime is part of FGO. All right, next up. Mr. Nasu, will you be writing this personally? 今回の夏イベは2部の工作みたいなもんなんですよ。前半は担当ライターさんに、後半は自分が担当されて思いますし、お互いに連絡を取りながら分担して作業していました。So, Mr. Nasa, will you be writing this? By the way, this year I was in charge of. This year's summer event is TLDRing something of a season 2 itself. Yeah, okay. So, this summer is going to be a semi TLDR. So, that's why it wants you to finish Ordeal Call. So, Nasu just said this summer is practically TLDR of season 2. Something like that. I let the first half the certain writers, allowing them to do their own thing. Later half is written by me personally. While conversating each other, we separated our work. We separated our work here and there properly. Interesting. So essentially, summer 2 is TLDR of season 2. Last but not least, the interviewer asked the 10th year. A big marker is right around the corner, Mr. Nasu. Can we get some words of encouragement and words of encouragement and other infos that you want to throw out? Nasu specifically says, by the way, one game lasting for 10 years, that's not something that normal people can accomplish on its own. So on that side, in many different meanings, not only the development side and the user side, I'm pretty sure there's some sort of small, if not a large amount of fatigue starting to show up on the surface. And that is why, for the 10 years, you've all been able to 10 years you've all been able to join together and have fun. I want to make sure that the ending is beautiful and amazing. Making sure that your withered body is lit up on fire, and let's keep it through. What's the catch copy of Armored Core 6? It'sくたびれた身体に火をつけて踏ん張っています。So it's essentially he copied the phrase from Armor Core 6. He's saying that he's lit up the withered body and moving forward, doing his best. Didn't want. It's a catch copy from Armored Core 6. Lol. By the way, 10th year is a large number. A large number, and it's a fantastic number to celebrate it. I want to make sure that this 10 year of experience user will feel sad but enjoyable experience. Sad to let go and an enjoyable experience will be come into fruition, and we'll do our very best. It says last year's interview, we specifically said we're just pre-preparing. 1 year of just pre-preparing was the answer, but now I can say it proudly that we are now finally entering the finale. In order to celebrate the 10th year, Lasengo and Type Moon are doing their very best. Then interviewer interjects, hey, from the talks of it, a true ending of FGO is right around the corner. In actuality, can you tell us anything about that? Nasu specifically answers, one day, humans will die. After all, there's nothing that has an ending, right? However, 突然パツンと終わるわけでもなくて FGO で大きなストーリーが終わりを迎えてその後どうなるかは誰にもわからないという感じです。 So the feeling is, the feeling is that the FGO will finish their story, the biggest story that they've had so far. So Nasu specifically says that it's not going to end with it's not going to end all of a sudden. After all, FGO is about to end one of its biggest story, and from after that, afterwards and forward, technically no one will know the future, what it could hold, is what I'm trying to convey. So what you're trying to say is that どういう風にするかというのはもちろん how you're going to bring things about, you already have it in your images, don't you, Mr. Nasu? And then Mr. Nasu answers the final question by saying, I do, just a little bit. But I'm not going to say exactly how it's going to be out of my mouth just yet. To be perfectly honest, I constantly keep telling people that after season 2 is over, set me free and let me go, but you know how it be. Lol. なかなかそういう、なかなかそうもいかないんですよね. He says, unfortunately, that's not the factor here. That's funny. Nasu's like, let me out! Let me out! That's funny. Yeah, by the way, Doomers will definitely take this and times it by 100. 100%. Right? Because Nasu, he is joking, but at the same time, he wants to be free, right? He said, let me be free. After season 2 is over, let me go. Let me enjoy myself. I've been constantly saying this out of my mouth, lol. But things just don't go the way it's supposed. So he's gonna make season 3. Like he is saying that he's got a plan, but it's not a sure concrete plan that he's not going to say out loud. So there is a part 3 cooking at the moment. It's just that FGO season 2 is ending. Which is good. And Nasu specifically says, hey, I want FGO season 2 to end with a grand finale, right? It's not going to die all of a sudden. It's not going to disappear on you. Season 2 is going to end, and what happens after season 2, no one will know, right? Because currently, technically, no one does know. Because nobody can figure out the ending of season 2, because this could happen, that could happen, this can happen. So Nasu is specifically saying, hey, nobody knows the ending just yet. But first, FGO is going to end this grand story, right? He's going to welcome this ending of season 2. Afterwards, we'll figure it out from there. And he does kind of mention that season 3 is cooking, but he does meme it by, hey, let me go. Let me be free! Essentially, he wants to play games. It's pretty funny. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there's Mana. Says it as a young girl, but it's Mana. And then once you learn Takeuchi's answer, you'll know more about it. Yeah, I just quickly read the last segment of Takeuchi's final word. Nasu's trolling. I mean, listen, like Nasu's getting old, right? Nasu is getting old. and he wants to at least finish season 2 before it kind of gets into this like quagmire of horse shit, right? So he wants to end it with a grand finale, right? Like nice ornaments left and right, and then he'll come up with season 3. I think he's just genuinely tired, dude. I think the man has aged, right? These two have aged for a bit, but they're still cooking. And Aniplex and the others are not letting them rest. And it's also Nasu doesn't want to let go complete control, as always, because he knows that he has a 80% probability, right? He has an 80% probability in his guts feeling that if FGO gets let go and out of his control, it's gonna die. It's gonna die faster than Madoka Magica died on NA, right? Because it's true. Because once the IP goes in the hand of Aniplex, once the IP goes in the hand of Sony, it's Jover. They're going to milk it dry, not only the voice actors, but the animators. So, in a way, Nasu's just like, hey, season 2 gonna end. I'm cooking season 3. I'm not gonna say much, right? Because we want to hype up season 2. But season 2 gonna end. Not gonna talk about season 3 because they want to hype up that finale specifically. And what they're probably doing in the back is that after season 2 is over, they're probably gonna have another 1.5. Like so you're gonna have 2.5 essentially, like actual 2.5. Because Nasu specifically did mention that while Ordeal Call is while Ordeal Call feels like 1.5, it's not 1.5. So I have a sneaking feeling that in the back right now, Nasu and the others are making stories for 2.5, so 3 can come out like a couple of years later. But he's not gonna say that out loud because he wants to hype up the finale of season 2.